Well, hello everybody.
Hello, hello.
I see my face is frozen there, but hopefully you can still hear me.
You're the best ventriloquist in the world, Josh.
I know, right? You couldn't even see my mouth moving at all. Well, welcome everybody. This is the All Things Recon podcast, put together by the Rapid Recon and Velocity team. Now debuting our newest tools with Rapid Recon Pro. Not today, not with this meeting, but we are going to be discussing All Things Recon, and we're going to start with today with the subject of how to leverage your recon investment to make to add value to your inventory. And
No,
so if you're,
this is.
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't mean to step on you. This is a great subject too, because I think over the years, back when I sold cars, it was the overall mentality was just get the damn cars on the lot. Make sure they're safe, and people aren't going to run into a house or a tree and put it out there. But I think and part of it might have been induced by COVID or influenced by COVID a little bit, where everybody kind of had to turn into a used car lot, right? Because, shipping chains and lack of inventory and used car values going through the roof. I think it really put an emphasis on dealerships making sure that their cars are standing tall. I know everybody is pretty much hung up on the 3 days, let's get it out there in 72 hours. But we even as a consulting, our tool have relaxed that a little bit. Let's make it 5 days and make our cars stand taller, right? Because you don't want to be synonymous with selling crappy cars. And but I'm glad we're kind of segueing into this, Josh, is because what do we do now, right? We spend a little extra time putting a little more into our cars, so our cars stand tall. But how exactly, like you said, Josh, how do we leverage that on the front end when it comes time to market our cars and sell our cars to customers? So
Yeah, exactly. And this the subject here, we're kind of already assuming from the start, y'all, that you have a decent recon process, one that is documented enough that you have conclusive information to be able to share with your customers about the condition of the vehicle when you received it, and then what you did to it, what repairs you performed, and from there, um, being able to compile that information and give it to your customers. So the question, sort of begging the question, do your cars stand tall? Well, if you feel reasonably confident that you have a strong recon process and it's already part of something that you're thinking of or have already incorporated into some sales, we want to propose that you standardize that process, that you make it a regular thing, that for every unit on your lot, you have a well documented trail of exactly what happened with that unit when it entered, what was the condition, what was necessary to bring it up to the frontline standard that you have, and then communicate that to the customer. This is the standard of our vehicles here. We know when you drive off the lot today, you're not going to have to come back in for anything other than the standard maintenance interval, 6 months, a year down the line. So you can, with every car you sell, you affect your reputation, especially when it comes to used cars. And if you already have established that base of transparency and trust, utilizing the process that you already have in place, you can get a lot of value out of that. You can leverage that to justify the price you have for the cars on your inventory. And so that's what we'll be going into more detail about today. So I think the biggest point, the biggest takeaway from this that I think anyone could take away is that transparency is something that you give to yourself first before you can offer it to your customers. So it's important when you're considering how do I leverage the cost of my recon. You need to be able to compile the work that you've done, put it into a presentable format for your customers, like a portfolio or a binder or some kind of document, an evidence manual for the car.
evidence. I was going to say evidence, man. A little evidence sheet, right? Love it.
Yeah, and present that to the customer at the time that information becomes relevant in your discussions with them. And so the first step to doing that, if you're trying to incorporate that into your process, is to actually define your process for yourself first. Understand what you already know about what happens to units as they go through your process, what you already know about the individuals involved in getting a unit from first arrival to frontline, and then make sure that you have a standardized way of getting that information documented. So, for instance, a lot of you have an inspection form that you're utilizing in the shops. So, you might have a certified inspection form for those that are working with mainline manufacturers. You may have your own warranty program or otherwise certified program that your dealer insures. And then you could have, just a standard or safety inspection. When you have when you already have those documented practices in place, if you can print out that inspection form, if you can have a copy of it available, you can put it in your evidence manual, and you can present that to the customer as a part of your transparent presentation to them about the condition of the vehicle when you first perform that inspection. And
Yeah, and
Bobby, go ahead.
oh, go ahead, Josh.
I was just going to ask you, what do you, in your experience, have you seen that value leveraged, that transparency before?
Here and there, and I think it needs to get better because you got to remember we have a different customer nowadays, right? They are accustomed to having all the information known to mankind in the palm of their hand, right? Called their cell phone. Okay, so if you don't, we're already racing for information, right? So how do you stand out from the dealership down the street, especially if you might not be the cheapest, right? If your cars stand tall, you want to be proud. You should never have to apologize for your cars. Get these cars reconned, make them stand tall, and then, Josh, not necessarily maybe sharing the MPI, but share what you did to the vehicle, and we can, we have the ability to filter out certain things. Obviously, you don't want to show body work, right? In some cases, dent repair, curb rash, or whatever, right? But I would definitely want to show I did the brakes, new tires and alignment, a battery, and new windshield wipers, cabin air filter, engine air filter. We spent $2,300 on this car, right? When's the last time you spent $2,300 on your own car, right? I can't remember, right? So, I think that dealerships should really shift. If you're already using a tool, this accountability tool and this documentation and this, CYA, right, tool to gather information, get things approved, why not share that with the customer? Hey, what we did to the car, right? Because the level of confidence, what's going to make you different, from the dealership down the street? And I think dealerships or the car industry more and more is starting to become more transparent up front because that's what the customers truly appreciate. And there's still that stigma, used car, right? It's the used car, and I think anything we can do to give the sales interaction a kind of a new car feel, but a level of confidence that what they're buying could be just as good as a new car if it's got new brakes, new tires, alignment. That's $2,300 I don't have to spend on the car in a very long time. So.
Exactly. It's that rest. It's the assurance for the customer that they don't need to do anything further with the unit, and then if they take it off of your lot, they can just drive it right home. They can go on a road trip with it. It doesn't matter. They're rest assured that the vehicle is in a condition that they can be confident in. And the point about what information do you choose to share, that's gonna come down to what do you have available. So what information do you already know? What do you already understand? What's already documented and available for you to see? So the more that you control that information in terms of what's available, where it's documented, how easy it is to access, when you have easy access to it, when you can see everything in your process, when you have a well-documented track record of the story of the car through the dealership, that is when you can leverage that information at crucial periods of time. And we're going to go into more detail there. But one thing I want to connect here is that transparency and the idea of a car's story. I want to be able to bridge those two concepts because when we talk about transparency, it doesn't have to be 100% total transparency with the customer. We, of course, like Bobby says, there's some things that are going to be a blemish for the vehicle, or perhaps that we're just not going to be as confident in presenting. And so the degree to which we can be transparent, the degree to which we can leverage the information that we do have is all going to depend on our culture, and in particular the culture around documenting things, around keeping things organized, and compiling the information in a practiced way so that you always have access to these things in case the customer asks, in case these questions come up. So if you have a great multi-point inspection that shows that the vehicle was basically almost brand new at the time that it arrived at your dealership, you can share that with the customer because it's unblemished, right? It's a great boon for the vehicle. But you
Or at least
can't share those.
exhibit, yeah, or at
Go
least
ahead.
exhibit how thorough you were with the inspection. Everything that you
100%.
checked. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing that should just be included if you have an evidence manual, is just a blank copy of the inspection form, so that customers know exactly what it is that you go through. Of course, I would say full transparency. You want to include anything that you can, but it's going to depend on what you as a dealer understand. Many of you come from different backgrounds. You have different consumer bases. You have different market economies that you're working with. So in that case, consider that when you're thinking about how transparent you want to be with your customers. But uh, we're seeing a trend, and of course, this is just a trend worldwide. Consumers want to know more, and they're going to buy from the people that provide them with the most information up front.
And Josh, too, another thing, cars pricing. A car's pricing is, especially with all the tools available to sales managers these days, you're not going to really price the car just because we put, $2,500 into the car doesn't mean I'm going to try and sell it for $2,500 more to get my market back or get my money back, right? That car is only as marketable as the market allows for it, right? So why not, this Mazda 6 or whatever this 2019 Hyundai Kona is, let's say 18 grand here. It's probably same year, make and mileage. The dealership down the street probably going to be in the same ballpark. The difference is, you're showing that you spend an extra 2-3 grand, reconditioning the car, and you again just justifying your number. And there's a lot of dealerships out there that are not doing that.
Yeah, a lot of our dealers that are attracted to our Engage products in particular, they love to have the record of what they spent on the Recon because just like Bobby said, it helps justify their price. And so you can guarantee in a way that other dealers perhaps in your area can't, the safety, the reliability, and the current standard of your inventory, so that customers are assured, like I said before, that they can be confident in their purchase with you. And so when you have the evidence there to show them, when it's all compiled, it's easy for them to access, and you're there explaining what it is that they're looking at, that helps facilitate that feeling of trust. And that's the first step. I mean, obviously this is all geared towards actually selling a car, but that's also the first step in establishing a long-term relationship with that customer. Perhaps they're going to buy from you again when they need to buy a car. Perhaps they're going to bring that car back in for service, when inevitably they need to perform maintenance at some point in time. And you're selling that relationship beyond the vehicle. And so part of that is getting that relationship is establishing that level of trust with the customer. So in the short term, we might decide to be a little bit more guarded about information for the sake of a sale, not knowing that we're ultimately going to hurt our relationship with this customer and hurt the possibility of getting more sales from them in time. So it's just
And
important to consider that.
some customers have no idea what a dealership has to do to get a car retail ready. They have no clue. They just, for all they know, you just take the car in and you stick it out there, right? So, I think if you poll a bunch of people that have bought cars over their life, they would probably be surprised if they were to learn how much a dealership actually has to put into a vehicle to make it retail ready. So why not share the information?
Exactly. And just a brief note here. So this is not just a presentation, y'all. If you want to raise your hands, if you have questions, there's modules here available for you. There's a chat and a Q&A log available. You can also raise your hand if you'd like to take part in the discussion. If you're leveraging Recon at your dealership, in your negotiations with your customers, or if you're just using your documentation to make your car stand tall and make sure your customers understand the investment you make in your inventory, we'd love to hear from you, because I want to hear how this is going so far. How have you navigated those conversations with the customers? How do you train your salespeople to navigate those conversations? Because that is an important aspect of this conversation. From the previous slide, and we'll see if I can go back here. It's a little some time. Yeah, you can see here. So I just wanted to draw attention to the fact that compiling this information and making it available to your customers is just one aspect of it. It's also important that your salespeople are educated about what information is available and how to present it to the customer. And it's not terribly complex. It's just a matter of once you introduce something like an evidence manual, making sure your salespeople understand what information's in there, what's provided to the customer, and how to have those conversations with them.
Yeah, and too, if the dealership, if you're not presenting it up front, you're going to get that savvy customer every now and then to, hey, could you give me the vehicle history, the service history on this car? Yeah. So the salesperson's going to go run over to service, and it's like, oh crap, I don't know what's in this vehicle history. I'm going to go in the RO history, and I hope to God whatever comments are in the notes on the ROs or whatever, you're going to be, it's a little bit scary, right? So why not present, sell the green, present everything, all the positives that you've done to the vehicle up front, anything that builds value and confidence into why your car is better than the other car, right? So.
Yeah, so customers always they have especially in this generation, they're more educated about the tools available to them to learn about units before they buy. And like I said before, consumers nowadays, they're ultimately going to buy from the people who give them the information they need right up front, because they don't want to spend any time researching something beyond what they think is acceptable. Obviously, consumers with cars in particular are willing to spend a lot of time researching, but the easier you make it for them to get the information they need, the easier it is for them to ultimately come to your dealership when they just make the decision to buy.
Yeah, and I think that's proving true, Josh, and more dealerships are kind of catching on because our Engage, well, what's called Rapid Engage now, right? Those portfolios where you can click and it shows you, right, the recon, the amount of money that the dealership put into the car and all the individual line items on there. So we are rolling that out to consumers. But yeah, I definitely think dealerships should take advantage of leveraging that information to disarm. You're kind of disarming the customer up front with that. So.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning that this entire presentation goes hand in hand with the product that we offer, which is Velocity Engage. It is a digital portfolio for all of your inventory, mainly aimed at used cars, but there's plenty of information available for new cars as well.
Yeah,
compiles everything you've done in terms of service records, in terms of information, a window sticker for the car, manufacturer brochure, into one digital package. It's very easy. One example is, or one really good example of how this applies in this case, is that one of our dealers that's on the program, they love to put a little QR code sticker on the side of every one of their cars, and that QR code sticker takes you right to the buyer's guide. And so it's a practice.
Zach Murray mentioned in here that this is very common too. I know exactly what Zach Murray's talking about. They got these folders, the used car folders, where you got the Carfax, you got buyer's guide or whatever. Why not include a recon service history little thing in there too? So and he says
like
that
includes
the recon
everything.
service items that were completed and the buyer's guide. Yeah, perfect. So that's excellent. Best practice. We wish more dealerships did that.
That's great work, Zach, and especially if your salespeople are trained on how to incorporate that information and how to use that information to assure customers and start that relationship. Yeah, exactly. It's a sales tool. It's a sales tool because it's information your customer wants, and when you give it to them, they gain that confidence that you're the one that they can trust when it comes to making this big decision purchase in their life. Seriously, transparency goes a long way. It just really does, because like I said, it's going beyond the sale to the relationship.
I'm interested to hear from Zach too. Is that something that they have to produce and manufacture, or do they just print out? I know that we can print the approved items from our recon tools, right? And print that out on a sheet. Maybe it would behoove us to think about building something in specifically for this purpose, Josh, right? Like an evidence sheet. We can actually call it print evidence sheet, and it will automatically print out the approved items, right? And then the dealership can also choose, like we do with Velocity and Gauge, to negate they don't want to show the internal costs, right? But hey, how about just the total thing, the list of items that we did to the car, and then the total cost at the bottom, right?
Well,
Just to
we have
kind of,
that, Bobby. That's in the service records for Engage.
oh, we engage, yeah. But there's a lot of dealerships out there that might be just recon only. It would be kind of neat if they can print an evidence sheet right from the vehicle card, right? Or
Right,
from
right.
where we build the estimate in our either Rapid Recon or Recon Velocity, which soon will be Rapid Recon Pro, right? And if you can print, and it takes just the approved items and kind of lists those out and just gives you a recon total at the bottom.
Yeah,
Or,
you can get close to that right now, but yeah, it's not as convenient as you're describing. So yeah, that's a great idea, especially for people working through Insight. If
gotcha.
they're
So Zach, it looks like he prints out, yeah. And then I know, if you do print out an internal, it doesn't include pricing sometimes. So they actually print out the ROs or the whatever's from in their DMS and
yeah.
provides that to them too. Good stuff. Josh, are you frozen?
Was I frozen? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You're very still. You're not moving on video, but I just want to make sure audio is there.
Yeah, my camera just does not want to stay with the feed here,
It's all right.
but I'm here.
You're there. I see it now.
So the final point I want to drive home here is what Zach is saying. Essentially, is that this is all for the customer's benefit, or at least that's how you should present it. Now, of course, your car's standing tall, having great relationships with your customers, your lot being in order. Those are all things that obviously benefit you, and you want them to happen for you. But you need to make it apparent to the customer that is for them. That it is for them principally, that they walk in, that the cars are clean, they can go on a test drive, they come back. They know when they drive off the lot, they won't have to bring the car back in for service, that they're going to bring it right home. It'll be safe and reliable for them. Make sure that they understand that this is an investment you make on their behalf for them. And just like Zach is saying, you can tell them exactly how much you spend on the car, because that is a part of the final price of your vehicle. It's a part. Now, of course, it's not 100% just wrapped up into the cost, but it's a part of the price that you set, because you have a standard for your inventory, and unlike some of your competitors, you hold yourself to a standard for the benefit of your customers, and you sell that relationship beyond just the vehicle, because you're selling the value of your organization. You're selling the value of the relationship you have now with the customer that you've established, and the value of your service department, because the customer knows now from the evidence you've presented that there's already a trained staff of technicians who've thoroughly examined this unit. And so if there's any service required, in the future, you just come back in. We're already familiar with your car, and we'll take care of you. And Zach is asking, do we have an average is it
Yeah,
record?
I was gonna chime in there, and a lot of it depends on where you're at in the country and what OEM you are, or not necessarily what OEM you are, but a lot of the business model depends on that. Josh, I would go out on a limb and say probably the average of maybe the grand scheme of things, $1,200 to $1,500
I was
per
going to say
car.
around 1,500. Yeah.
But then you go to a Nissan dealership in California, and Bradley York can tell you this too. You're gonna be $2,000, $2,500 a car, right? Because your labor rate's $250 an hour in California, whereas in Alabama, it might still be $179 an hour, right? So it's a little bit all over the board. I know your average. You go to a Porsche dealership, it's through the roof, but there's a few variables. But I think in a nutshell, yeah, our tools will calculate average recon costs if the dealership is using the tool properly. So I would guess, yeah, somewhere 15 to 2,000, somewhere in I would say between 12 and $2,000. It really depends on location. So and
So
business
heard you
model.
have a
You know,
question
what
about.
kind of cars are you taking in? You know, or what kind of caliber? If you're a buy here, pay here lot, yeah, I promise you, you're going to be $800, right? But if you're in a market and a business model where you want to sell quality vehicles, yeah, it's gonna go up.
So
So
Herb's asking about Rapid Recon Pro. So I don't want to necessarily get bogged down with that just yet, but the process to convert is you're gonna have you reach out to us and we can make that happen. But it is a separate system. It's not like just a flat conversion or upgrade that happens. But it's the marriage between Rapid Recon and Velocity that a lot of our customers have been waiting for. We have, I believe, Rachel and Shelly, I think we have the QR code for our sales team available to put up on screen. So if you'd like to learn more about it, we have demos. We're running them right now for Rapid Recon Pro, so you can see what it's like. If your staff's already familiar with Rapid Recon, they already know how to work with Velocity. It's going to be an easy transition if you want to go from one to the other.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but
Currently, there's not a plan to flip a switch, right? And everybody has the, you know. So moving, at least in the immediate future, everybody that's currently on Rapid Recon, nothing's going to change.
yeah,
However, if somebody out there does not have a recon tool and they decide today that, hey, we need Rapid Recon, it's going to be the Recon Velocity tech stack, the design of Recon Velocity, but it's going to be labeled Rapid Recon Pro. So we probably won't flip the switch or transition people until we got, you know, a little more feature rich of, you know, dialing in. The good news for all of our customers, they're going to, you know, the number one and number two neck and neck best recon tools in the industry, right, are now joining forces. So it's going to evolve. But as of right now, there's no huge changes. So I wouldn't be chomping at the bit to go to Rapid Recon Pro, because it's really it's just more of a difference right now than it is necessarily better per se. So
yeah, it's an evolution for both programs to eventually consolidate. But for now, most of our customers have a great working tool, and we want them to continue with that and just have the choice. You know, if you're interested, like I said, we're already running demos on it if you want to see, and we should have a QR code on screen somewhere for you to get in contact with our sales team. And then as to your question, Zach, about some of the reports to be emailed. You might want to get in contact with your customer success manager about that in particular, but we can make that happen in time. But we're going to keep most of our discussion in these podcasts, y'all, kind of general and not really tool oriented, because we want to talk about culture, we want to talk about work, and we want to talk about process without necessarily being married to one tool. That's why the podcast is called All Things Recon and not All Things Velocity or All Things Rapid. But if you want to learn more about those things, there are resources on screen for you, or there should be at least. I have a different view, but there are resources on screen for you to learn more about what's going on at Rapid.
Zach Murray, what store, if you don't mind posting what dealership you're with, are you currently on Rapid Recon? If that's the case, if you know of people that would like a report email, typically, because our reports are built to always give you month to date in real time, perfect. Month to date in real time, you know, anybody, you can always go in and look at the report and boom, there's your information. If you feel like it would be beneficial that anybody needs to be emailed on a certain basis, we can go in, we'll find out who your customer success manager is, and we'll see if we can get that going for you. So I see it, Jordan Motor Cars. Perfect. Appreciate it, bud. Make a note of that.
So, you know, this is only a 30-minute podcast. There's only so much detail we can go into. We talk pretty generally about best practices. But if you want to learn more, if you want to work with us, we're part of the Rapid Recon Performance Team, Rapid Recon Pro, Velocity Performance Team. And we're all about improving reconditioning for our customers and making sure that they're leveraging our tools to get the most out of their time with it and the money investment that they make with us. So reach out to your customer success manager, let them know, hey, I want to meet with the performance team. I want to learn more about how to make Rapid Recon work for me. I want to incorporate an evidence manual for my cars, and the performance team are people. We are people who can help you do that. So just keep that in mind. We are not only here to just have this discussion in the first place, but also to make clear for our customers and for others that when you work with Rapid Recon, you have access to people like us who can help you build your best practices or build your practices up to the standard that's really going to improve recon and sales.
Yeah, and our team, we've learned a few things, talking to 4,000 plus dealerships, right? Discussing recon on a daily basis. So, we in our heads, we have best practices, what should be the expectation in cars on average, how long they spend in detail versus the inspection phase in the shop versus the repair phase versus, things like that. So we'll be happy. We can discuss anything recon with you folks if you ever need to get on it. So. Josh, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just
okay. Your picture disappeared, and it looks like you're pulling something up.
I am.
Oh,
Just gonna pull up.
I got scared for a second there, Josh. No, just kidding.
Can you see this QR code here?
Not yet. It's loading. I can see your screen now, Josh, but I don't see a QR code.
Okay, hold on. Well, unfortunately, I cannot display it because it's just not registering there on the screen, but that's okay.
Oh, Rachel Miller. Here she goes.
No.
Bam. There we go. Good job.
Yeah, this will take you to learn more about Rapid Recon products if you're interested.
Yeah, hover over that. Yep, schedule a demo for Rapid Recon Pro. Excellent. Appreciate that, Rachel.
Yeah, so if you're interested in Rapid Recon Pro, just follow that QR code. You can go ahead and schedule a demo with us. But otherwise, this is pretty much all we had to cover today, I think, Bobby.
Yeah, great job. We appreciate everybody's time. We're at the bottom of the hour. When's our next one, Josh? We're going to shoot for the third weekend or the third Thursday in September, correct?
Yep, that's right. So our next will be on the 18th. And perfect. We look forward to seeing you all again then. And we are going to take your response here to the poll as to what you'd like to do as our next meeting. So if anyone, looks like we had a few respondents to the poll. Setting realistic goals. Okay, well, looks like that'll be our next topic.
And that'd be a great. I love that. Setting realistic goals versus what the industry best practices, right? So I think what I find sometimes having the most valuable conversations with dealers is that, hey, what should I expect out of detail? What should I expect in this phase? In this phase, when it's all said and done, you should be 5 days or less controllable recon, right? So, be happy to maybe cover that next meeting.
Yeah, so we'll talk through the thinking process there. But otherwise, thanks everybody for attending, and you have a wonderful day.
Take care, guys. Thank you.